kidnapped us from my mom. My mom had just went into the store to go cash her check. So the car dragged me 5 houses down, and I don't remember what happened after that. I woke up in the hospital. I woke up with cops.
Someone must have called?
My mom. Me. Oh, you're right.
Told you.
What he did to me was ruin the person I was. I'm not gonna lie, I stabbed him.
Girl, I love you, dude.
I stabbed him. I stabbed him in the arm.
Oh my God, you're so gangster. I love it.
I can't take it no more. Like, I need help. You know, like I need
You're
help.
just spiraling out of control.
Yeah, I was acting a fool. I was fighting everybody. I was just doing the most. I go in there, and I'm not gonna lie, girl, I was in there for 2 days. And I was like, oh, nope, I ain't doing this. This is weird. They be praying at the table. Like, what are you guys talking about, you know? Everybody says, okay, so now what did you like in that chapter? Just pick a scripture. Oh, they use the salt of the world. Well, why do you like that? Because I like salt. You said which one I like. I like salt, so the salt of the world sounded good to me. I remember burning fire. I felt my body, but I didn't see my body. I seen demons just like eating at me, and I seen like the devil laughing at me, and I heard people screaming and crying, and I was then I didn't know what that was. I do now, because I know I went to hell.
I'm so glad.
You're good.
I'm so glad I caught that. I would have been so sad. All right. Let's start over.
Yeah.
Straight up, I totally forgot to press the recording button, but we're good. We caught it. Caught it in time. So thank you. Thank you for hopping on. And so just introduce yourself, because a lot of people don't know you. I barely know you. I saw you at church. I heard your testimony, just a little bit of it. And I was like, yeah, I want to talk to her. And so, yeah, let's start off with your name, where you grew up, and kind of just your story growing up.
Okay, so my name's Ilene, and my story from me being little and where I grew up in Riverside, but really I bounced from house to house. My mom was the provider, and she had to work, and you know, it was just very hard for my mom. But my dad was very, very abusive to my mom. My dad used to beat my mom almost all the time, and he kidnapped us one time when we were little. I was about 4 or 5. I'm gonna say.
Do you remember?
I do, girl. I don't know how I remember that. Like, I remember a lot. My mom's like, "How do you remember that?" I don't. It's like the enemy, you know. He wants you to keep those bad thoughts in your head.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I sure enough did, you know. And he kidnapped us from my mom. My mom had just went into the store to go cash her check, and she left us outside with 2 of her friends. And I remember, like, my dad came with the gun. He was like, "Give me my kids," and you know,
your mom's friends.
Yeah. Yes, and they're my kids, and I'm gonna take them, you know. And he took us. Girl, my dad was so, like, on drugs. He kept us in a room. He wasn't feeding us. We were crying for my mom.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Yes. So for like a day and a half, I think he got tired of us. He got tired of us crying. He got, you know, he was on
Wait,
drugs.
you guys didn't eat for days?
He didn't feed us for like a day and a half. He gave us back after that because he couldn't.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, no, we didn't. And
okay, sorry. How many? So it's you and who else?
So me and my older sister, the ones that got kidnapped.
Oh, how old was she?
She was, if I was 5, she was 6.
Wow.
Yeah, and my little baby brother, but my mom had my baby brother because he was still a baby. You know,
Yeah.
She walked in the store with him. I mean, she didn't know that was going to happen, you know?
Of course.
So
yeah.
then he went and dropped us back off and stuff with my mom. Was like, here's your kids. I can't handle it, you know, blah, blah, blah. My mom, you know, from there, like, took care of us. But in between my mom taking care of us, you know, my mom was a very good mom, but my mom didn't have her mom growing up. My grandma kind of, nothing bad towards my grandma. I just want to say that right now, just in case she does watch this. Nothing bad towards her, but she wasn't a mother to my mom.
Right.
She left my mom on her own when she was 16. She found out she was pregnant, you know, so my mom had to do it on her own. My grandpa moved to Texas, her dad, and she was on her own. She was trying to raise 3 kids by herself, you know, and then she got with my little sister's dad. He was a good man. He just didn't work. So my mom continued to have to work. Well, he did weed. And in the midst of my mom always having to be at work, there was obviously a lot of my sister's grown man cousins coming over, and one of them actually stayed with us, and he molested me when I was little, and it happened a couple of times.
How old were you? I'm so sorry.
I had to
that
be
you
like
went through.
6 or 7.
So you remember that as well?
I do. I never forget like that, and you know, I tell myself like, you know, like that wasn't my fault. But when I was little, I didn't know. You don't know. You don't know if that's right or wrong. You don't know. But then you also hear, like, you better not tell your mom, because if you tell your mom, something's going to happen. And he used to abuse his girlfriend in front of us. Like, we've seen him sock her in her face, drag her down, like, you know, and I was scared. Like, oh, you're going to do that to my mom. Like, I'm still little, you know?
You don't understand who's able to do what with who. Yeah.
So I didn't tell my mom. Nothing. Kept going on. And then one day, the manager came to collect all the rent money from all the people in the complex. And this guy right in front of us, stabbed our manager 24 times right in front of us. Took the money from him, and the SWAT came. Like, it was just a whole bunch of stuff that we seen, you know? And he went to jail. So from that, I thought, like, I don't have to tell my mom, like, he's gone. He's not going to hurt me no more.
Yeah.
And where I grew up, it was like, how I grew up was like, you don't be scared. You don't, like, you're not a tattleteller. Like, that kind of mentality in your head. That was my mentality. Oh, no, I can't. And that I'm too hard for that. I can't do that. Little or not, I still knew not to be doing
that's your culture that you grew up in. Yeah.
So I didn't say anything. Girl, my mom barely found out. I'm going to say last year that this happened.
What?
Yeah, I held it in the whole time.
Did Holy Warriors help you with that?
Yes, girls. Freedom. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Wow. Praise God, dude.
Yes, praise God. And so as I'm growing up, you know, my mom left my little sister. My mom got pregnant, had my little sister with her dad, and finally realized, like, he's not working, he's not helping, you know.
Yeah.
I also watched my mom stab the guy that did what he did to me, because one Christmas we came home and all our furniture was gone, our TV was gone, everything was gone. He stole it. Yeah. That was a little bit before he stabbed the manager, though.
Oh, my God.
So, you know, there was, like, constant things happening in our home that was very, traumatic, I'd say, yes. And my mom finally left her dad, and she met my stepdad that she's with now. He is such the best dad.
Aww.
God sent us such a very good man that, you know, took care of me and my brothers and sisters. And you know what? It got a little bit better. But I think from all the trauma from when I was little, I carried that weight with me, you know. And I didn't know how to act. I knew I had to be hard. Like, you know, and that was me being hard. I don't care. I don't need, nobody's going to mess with me. You know? I don't care if you're a guy or girl, whatever, you know. So that was like my younger year. Yeah.
So like, how old are you, like, after this, like, at this point?
At this point, I think I'm like 10, 12. Okay, so I was okay, but I mean, I was like fighting at school, doing stuff like that, you know, just.
So you were getting into trouble and stuff, like rebelling, or were you just more like, where was your mindset, like middle school, high school?
Oh, middle school, high school, I was bad.
Yeah.
I was bad. I did not, I was fighting almost all the time at school. I felt like if somebody like looked at me wrong or disrespected me, like I would get down with them. And that mindset also comes from my Theo that's in prison. I love him. He was like a dad to me. I never seen nobody disrespect him. I wanted to be like him, just straight up, okay? And when I was 14 or 13 years old, my uncle came in the room and he said, "You want to make $20? You want to drive a car?" And I said, $20? Drive a car? I'm only 13. Yeah, I want to go. Oh, don't even know what's going on. Just happy I'm about to get
Yeah.
So we're going, and he's driving there, and then we get to in front of a Yum Yum Donuts. And me, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then my uncle's all, get in the driver's seat. I'll be back. So I'm parked right here in the Yum Yum Donuts. It's right there, so he has to walk up and go into the Yum Yum Donuts. And I'm like, I get in the driver's seat. I'm messing with the radio. I'm about to drive right now. You know, I'm so excited, guys. Like, this is it, you know? I'm about to learn how to drive.
I know that feeling.
Girl, I turn to the side, and I look, and I see my uncle like this, putting on a black mask, and I'm all, oh, my God, what is going on?
What?
Oh, girl, I'm panicking. I'm like touching stuff.
He's putting on the mask?
My uncle is. So... And I was just like freaking out, turning down the radio, like, oh my God, it's not what I planned.
The vibe just switched up on you.
Girl, I was scared to death. My heart was beating out of my chest. He went into Yum Yum Donuts, and all I seen the girl go was like, please, no. Oh my God. You know, in the car, I'm like almost crying, but I can't cry in front of my uncle because we're not supposed to do that. So I'm just like, oh my God, you're tripping out. Then I see him come back. He's all, go, 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 go. I'm gone. He's all, here's your $20. Don't tell your mom. Never told my mom nothing. Nothing. I walked in the house. I was scared. My mom's like, what happened? Why do you look like that? I was like, oh, nothing. Went to the room. My mom barely found out, too, a year ago that I did that with my uncle.
What the heck?
Yes, girl. And then I went with him one time to go sell these guns. I was just being trained. My uncle wasn't telling me to do this stuff, but I was seeing it be done. So automatically, I'm like, man, I'm trying to be like him. Like, he's a G. Like,
You had that
so
like,
my
respect for him.
mindset was like, oh, let me be like this, you know? And my uncle went back to jail for stuff he did. And then I met this older guy, you know, and he ended up being my husband. I was with him from 15 to 21.
Oh, wow.
I got married to him when I was 18. But when I got with him, everything was okay. And his brother had died in a car crash. He started doing drugs. And I was being abused, like really bad. I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. I gave my all to him. I cooked for him. I made sure his clothes were washed and folded before he went to work. I got up and made breakfast before he left. I did everything a wife was supposed to do. I never went out. He would constantly leave me at the house and go out. Did
you guys have kids?
No. And I wanted to too. And he would always tell me like, what are you good for? You can't even have kids. So that broke me. And I would cry to my mom like, what's wrong with me? Like, you know, why me? Like all I wanted to do was be a mom, you know? And I know why now, you know, but I was getting so abused. Like, he would wake me up after him going clubbing with his friends and with a knife to my neck. And he'd be like, get the F up, get up. Or you don't want to make a scene because we lived in my mom's house. You don't want me to make a scene in front of your mom. So I'd get scared, you know, right away I would get up and he would drag me outside, you know. And he would start beating me up. And
did he ever like have a, not saying that you deserved it, but what was his reasoning for it? Like, what was his justification?
He was mad.
Even though there's no justification ever for that, like, what was his justification?
Honestly, he never told me. He did, he's in prison right now, but he did write me, and he did say, I apologize for everything I did to you. You're such a good person to me. I don't know why I did that to you. And I am so sorry, and I'm paying for everything I've done to you, you know? But he's ran me over with the car. You know, he's made me do things that... So one time we needed money for rent, and my dad's he's a drug addict, you know? He does bad things, so I automatically knew he knew somewhere to go to get money, you know? And he was crossing people at the time from TJ over here. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cross these people. I need money for rent. You know, I got to do it. And I went and I got caught. They let me go. Maybe a week later, he was like, "You need to go try again." I went to go try again. That time I got caught again, and I was in the holding cell over there in TJ for 2 days, and it was crazy. We rolled up to where the cameras are in TJ, and SWAT came out right away, like guns pointed at us, like, get out, get on the ground. And then I looked at the girl and I was like, oh my God, she passed out. She fainted. So I was like, don't shoot. Please, please don't shoot. She fainted. I'm not playing. Like, please do not shoot. He's all, get out of the car. Get on the ground. You know, they're opening her door. She's falling out, you know. Girl, crazy. So it made it even worse, my situation, right? And he's sending me texts, and I'm not getting these texts because they take my phone and everything from me. Girl, the next day I get out, I call my dad, and because he was right there in San Diego. I'm out, like, they released me. Can you come get me? Take me to my mom's house, though, because I knew not to go home because all the texts I was getting from him, it's like, when I see you, I'm going to beat your, you know, and I know you got the money and you went and did you and you didn't come home. That wasn't the truth, though, girl.
Of course.
And I was like, I don't even have time to explain this. I was in like a jail for 2 nights. It was not that nice over there, you know?
Right.
And, you know, I don't have time. So my dad drops me off at home. I don't tell my dad what's going on because I don't want him to know. I never told nobody he was abusing me as long as he was with me until the last time when he hit me with the car. That's when everybody found out everything. But I felt like it was a wife and husband thing, you know, it was our business. So I didn't tell my dad. He dropped me off at my mom's house. I'm barely laying on my mom's couch, and she has a screen to her door where you could see people come in. And my dad calls me not even 10 minutes after I lay my head down. He's all, oh, your husband called for you. I told him you're at your mom's. And I was like, oh my God, no way, why, blah, blah, blah. You know, and you hear him at the gate with the gun, do, and cussing at me, get up. You know, you need to get up now before I start shooting. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, let me prepare myself for this. As soon as I opened the door, I got punched in the face. I got dragged to the car. His brother was in the back of the car. And his brother was like, hey, bro, what are you doing? He was like, be quiet. This ain't your wife. He's cussing at him. This ain't your wife. This is my wife. I'll do what I want. So we get in the car and he's like, man, that's not cool. You know, as soon as I get in the car, he like hits me with his hand in the gun. Boom, you know? And then he was like, let me out. I'm not doing this. His brother was like, let me out. That's not cool, you know? So his brother gets out. And we're driving, and I'm like, please stop, just listen to me, you know? And then he shoots the gun. The gun barely went, like, into the door. And I was like, oh, my God. So I be quiet. I was scared after that,
I mean, at that point, you're freaking out,
yeah. So then he took me up to some mountains in Moreno Valley.
My gosh,
and
girl.
He took me up there, and for 10 minutes, I was locking, because he got out the door, so I was locking the door while he was going around the car. He was like, you better open it, you better. So he came around and tried to lock the door again. So he cracked the window and he opened the door and he dragged me out and he beat me for, I'm going to say, at least like 10 minutes. He was kicking me, socking me, spitting on me, kicking me in my stomach. And like finally a guy with a dog, it felt like forever that was happening to me. And finally...
it feels like eternity.
Yeah. A guy with the dog was walking. He's like, I'm going to call the cops. And he was like, mind your... And like cussing at him. So the guy turns around and leaves, you know? And then my ex-husband told me, like, walk. And then he started shooting the gun. Girl, I thought I was going to die that day. I was like, please. Like, I didn't know God, so I wasn't crying out for God. I didn't know. I was just like, please, I don't want to die. Like, I don't want to die. Like, you know, and then I'm walking, and then I try to run, and he gets in the car, and he, you know, follows me down the mountains, because it's a whole mountain thing, you know? And then he grabs me, puts me back in the car, and I go back to our apartment, and then my mom was like, Ilene, I thought you were in the living room, you know? Where'd you go?
He doesn't hit your face, huh?
Oh, no, he did.
Oh, so
I had to hide from my mom. No, we lived at our apartment. So my mom knew that I was there in the morning, but remember he came and got me.
Yeah.
So
she didn't see you.
She didn't see me.
Okay.
No, but she tried to go to the house, and I had to lie and say that I wasn't there because my face was messed up, you know. And that wasn't the only time. Like, this tooth is fake because he punched me in my mouth. He knocked it out. I lied to my mom and said that my pit bull, because I had a pit bull and we put a weight on my pit bull, that he jumped up and hit me, you know. Another time he cut my lip open. I said my nephew threw a jar bottle at me. That was a lie. Another
to protect him.
Yes, and continue to protect him. And another time, my eye was all cut open from here to here. It was really bruised, and my whole face was messed up. I lied, and I said that I fell in the shower. It was just lie after lie after lie.
You were just trying to survive.
Exactly. And after he hit me with the car, I woke up in the hospital. I don't know what happened. I remember.
Wait, hold on. So what led for him to do that?
We were arguing in the car, and I was getting out of the car, and I was walking around, and he took off in the car, and the car hit me. But not only did the car hit me, the car dragged me 5 houses down. So I don't know if you see that, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, this was all taken off. So the car dragged me 5 houses down, and I don't remember what happened after that. I woke up in the hospital. I woke up with cops.
Someone must have called?
My mom.
Your mom called?
Yes, I guess the neighbor came out, and she knew I was my mom's daughter.
Yeah.
And my mom seen me laying on the ground, blood, and you know, I can't recall because I don't remember what happened after I got pulled from the car. It happened fast, and I was drinking that day, you know. So I woke up in the hospital. My mom was right there crying, and I was barely getting out of whatever the hit, you know. And they're like, you need to tell us the truth. You need to tell, and stop lying for him. You know, look at your face. Look at yourself.
Like they had some type of like feeling something was up by then.
Yes, but then they went to go find him, and they found him at his friend's house, and his friend told him that he was there the whole time.
Of course.
And then I was like, how did I do this to myself? I could never do. They're like, we know you didn't. You know, we know you didn't do that to yourself. The neighbor seen everything, you know?
Oh, so there was witnesses.
Yes. So I was all like, you know, and that's when I was done. I couldn't do it no more. I felt like my life was just really at risk at that point. And after that relationship, I started selling weed at a weed shop.
So wait, I'm sorry. So he is he in jail now because of that?
No.
He never got just.
He was in jail. He did like 7 months for that.
For that?
Yeah.
Okay, but he's still
in prison right now for beating somebody up so bad he broke their jaw. So yeah, he's in prison for that right now. I don't really talk to him, you know. I did accept his apology because I knew I had to, you know, and I know that he didn't have a mom and dad growing up either. And I guess I always just try to see the good part about a person, you know. But what he did to me, you're right.
Told you.
What he did to me was ruin the person I was. I was a loving, caring, good person. It wasn't only him, it was everything that I went through. But, you know, to like find somebody to love, and as you're loving this person, you know, and you're trying to do everything for this person, and this person just being very mean to you, you have no clue why. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing everything, you know, and you feel like you failed, but you don't know where, what area, you know, and that hurt me, you know, as a person. And then it created a bigger monster inside of me where I was like, I'll never let a guy hit me again. I will never let nobody disrespect me the way I got disrespected, you know? And that led me into my next relationship with my kids' dad. I was still married to my husband, mind this. I didn't know God. I thought marriage was just a piece of paper and that's it. I didn't know God. I didn't know I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in this relationship. I right after my husband, I meet my kids' dad. And he was so good to me. He was so nice. He would always open the door. He was like the best man I could ever say, and I ruined that for him. I did that because I got addicted to pills while I was being abused 24/7. Like, I was always in the hospital because something was wrong with me, you know, my tooth, my mouth, you know, my face. And I learned to take pills because that's what they were prescribing me at the hospital, Norcos, 24/7, you know. And then I got used to it, and I was like, oh, this is numbing my pain. This feels good. I don't feel nothing. I'm not bothered. Then I got addicted when it was already too late.
Yeah.
I tried to stop taking them, and one day my body was aching. I was like, oh, something's wrong. Like, you know, like, what is this? And, you know,
like withdrawals.
Yes, girl. And I didn't even know what that was. Didn't know what that was. Now I have to take them. I don't want my body to feel like this. I was like diarrhea, throwing up, achy bones, not normal at all, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't feel like this. This is not, I don't want to feel like this. So, and as I'm going into this new relationship, I'm taking Norcos, but I'm working. I'm paying for my own stuff. I got my own car. He's working, but he was the nicest person. And then, like, when I didn't have my Norcos, I was so mean to him, like, you know, I was very mean to him, like, get a job, do something. Like, I was tired of him, like, not working and me providing all the time. And then even when he was working, he wasn't working enough to make what I was making to get my Norcos in. So I was really frustrated with him. And it wasn't even his fault.
Yeah, but you were an addict.
Yes.
And when
so
you're an
I
addict,
was just coming at him sideways 24/7, you know. And then I got pregnant. And I told my mom, like, you know, I'm taking all these pills. Like, you know, I don't know how to stop. Like, it's already too late. Now I'm pregnant. Now I have my son that I always wanted, you know. And I try not to take him that much while pregnant with my son. And when I would get, like, really bad, I would be like, just give me one. I need one. Like, I can't feel like this, you know. And I would take him here and there during my pregnancy because, like, I didn't want to feel like that, you know. I didn't know how to beat it. And then I had my son. And he came out cool, you know. There's nothing wrong with him. Thank you, Jesus. But our relationship was good. And then, bam, I got pregnant again. So I didn't want my daughter. I didn't know she was my daughter at first. I didn't want her. I said, we can't do this. Like, I'm still addicted to these pills. I have my kid, you know. He was like, no, we got this, you know. And I'm like, okay. He was still a very good man. We had my daughter. And then I noticed a change in him. He started working with his brother, and he started being really mean. And I skipped a whole part. I'm so sorry.
No, we can go back and forth. There's no like rules.
As I was pregnant with my daughter, I wasn't really going to the hospital and stuff because I knew that I was taking pills, and I didn't want to get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go all the time. And one day I had a dream that I started my period. It was the weirdest dream, girl. I started my period and I was giving birth. I was only 6 months with my daughter. So I got up and I was like, what the? And I went to the bathroom, and right after I went to the bathroom, I started cramping. And I was like, oh my God, something's wrong. It felt like when I was going into labor with my son. So I tried to wake my kid's dad up, and I was like, hey, something's wrong. Like, he was like, man, shut up. Like, you know, like, you're not due for another couple months. Like, you're good, you know? And I was like, maybe I am tripping. So I started pacing back and forth. But I was like, no, you got to get up. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. So he got all mad and he was cussing at me. That was the first time he really like cussed at me and stuff. And I wasn't paying attention really though, because I was about to give birth, you know, or I felt like it. Yeah. So then we find the closest hospital and go to the hospital, and they're like, oh, she's 7 centimeters. She's about to have a baby now. He was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know, like, you know. Well, as I'm giving birth to my daughter.
6 months. She's 6 months.
I'm giving birth to my daughter. I guess I couldn't see, my legs were up, but I guess her intestines and stuff came out first, and everybody's like, oh my God, what is that? And I'm like, what? Like, I can't see, the blanket's over me, you know? And my mom's like, where's the baby? And I was like, what the heck is going on? You know? And I'm like screaming, like, where's my baby? What is going on? They're like, you're gonna have to push fast, you know? Well, I pushed her out. She was born with her insides out of her stomach and no stomach, like, all her intestines came out first, and then she came out. So I wasn't allowed to touch my daughter or nothing. Like, they took her, they wrapped her in some wrap and put her stomach, like, to hold together, and they automatically took her to Chalk Hospital, hospital all the way in LA, and I was in Upland. So I was like, I don't get to touch her. They're like, she's emergency, she has to go. Like, you know, my mom left and followed the baby.
Oh my gosh, so traumatic, dude.
So I was crying. I didn't know what to think. And I kept telling myself, like, dang, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. Like, you took the pills. Like, it's your fault, you know? CPS got involved. CPS came, and CPS was like, oh, we found narcotics in your body. And I'm not going to lie. I pulled a fast move on that, because I had went to the doctors right before I had her because I was having tooth pain, and they prescribed me Norcos. But I was so small that you couldn't tell that I was pregnant. I wore a big shirt. And they didn't check my urine because it was tooth pain, you know, so there's nothing to go inside, you know. So I played that very smart in that situation. And I'm going to say, like, what the devil meant for harm, God turned for good. Because that helped me not get my daughter taken away. No. CPS wanted to take my daughter. I didn't have proof. I should have been taking the Norcos.
Right.
So because I went just before I had her,
there's a justification on why you had
the doctors prescribed, and I took it because it was prescribed, you know? So God saved me in that, and I just still didn't know it was God that was saving me, you know? But so CPS closed the case, and I would go see my daughter all the time at the hospital. Then I noticed my kid's dad, he was like, what are you always going over there for? Like, we have our son too. You need to pay attention to your son. It ain't just about her. And I was like, what? Like, she's in the hospital, you know? So, like, problems.
How long was she in there for?
She was in there for, I want to say 2 months. She had surgery the first 3 days of her life, continuously, to put her stomach more in. And I was there because I felt bad. Like, I knew it was my fault, right? It was my fault. You know, I take full responsibility of that, you know, for doing what I did. And if I would have went to the hospital and, you know, did my checkups like I was supposed to, I would have knew what was wrong with my daughter inside my stomach, but I didn't, because I didn't go, you know, and they didn't. And, you know, that hurts me, and I did that. So things between me and my kids' dad kind of got, because I was always at the hospital with her, it got like we started fighting more. I don't think he understood what I was feeling or even tried to, and I noticed a difference in him. And he wasn't admitting that he was doing drugs, but, you know, he would like take my son and leave, like, and he wouldn't. It just got really bad, so then me and him separated. And then I was still taking my pills, you know, because I got my daughter back and I wasn't worried, I guess I could say. And I wasn't doing anything with my life. I was just very depressed with what was going on with me and my kids' dad. He had started hitting me, and I moved to my mom's. And when I moved to my mom's, he took my son, and he wasn't letting me see my son like that. And it hurt me because that was my son.
How old was your son at this point?
He was only like 1.
Oh, wow.
My daughter was barely born. So, you know, it was like I missed my son. I never got to see him. He always took him, you know, and he didn't. And I wasn't the type of parent that, like, give me my son, you know, because what if something happens? Because he's the type of person that'll snatch my son out of my hands, and I won't fight. And it's not because I didn't love my son or didn't want my son. It's because I didn't want to hurt my son.
Yeah.
You know, like how we're pulling him back and forth. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So they would be like, well, why didn't you grab him back? I can't. You don't understand. I'm not. It's not. It's that serious. You know, I could hurt him.
Yeah.
He could hurt him.
She's so little.
Yes, exactly. So I was just like, you know, I let him take him. Oh, well, you should call the cops. I already tried to call the cops. The cops told me that was both of our kids. There's nothing you could do unless you have court order. Well, in the mix of this, he went to go get a court order and try to get my kids. And then my mom seen that I was still doing drugs. So my mom, which I love my mom, and she did it for whatever reason she did, but my mom called CPS on us and let CPS know that I was taking pills, and she thought my baby daddy was on drugs. And CPS came, and CPS, they checked our kids and stuff, and, you know, they let us be for a little bit. But then me and my kids, his dad, were driving in a car together, and he was pulling my hair, and all the cops were called, and we got pulled over, and CPS came again. The case was still open. And then
because the kids were in the car with you guys.
Yes. So then after that, he left again with my son, and I went with my daughter. Well, I was outside while my daughter was inside. I'm going to be very honest with you guys, because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. As I'm on these pills and, you know, I'm addicted, like, I'm not paying attention to my daughter. Just, I loved her. I didn't know how to love her, and I didn't know how to be a mom to her, because I was so much about myself and about what I was doing and about the hurt that the relationship didn't work, and my son, that I didn't pay attention to my daughter at all. And that hurts me, because I still don't have her. And I wish I could take that time back, and I can't, you know, I can't. But CPS came that day with the cops, and they came and they're like, give us your daughter, give us her bag. And that's how they came. Give her to us, get a bag ready, and we're taking her. And the cop was like, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. The cop was like, if you don't do that, we're taking you to jail. Go ahead, take me to jail. You're not taking my daughter. You know, at that point, I felt like, dang, this is really happening, you know? And my sister was like,
how old is she at this point?
Like my baby?
Yeah, maybe like
she's only
months?
4 months. Yeah. 4 months. And
so 2 months out of the hospital.
Yeah. And then my sister's like, get her stuff and let her go. And I'm mad at my sister. Like, this ain't your kid. This is my kid. Well, you're not doing anything for her anyways. And that hurt me to hear that, but it was true. And they took her from me, and the CPS worker told me, if your son's not here by 7 o'clock tonight or brought to that CPS office, you will never see your daughter again. And I was like, now I got to call my kids' dad and tell him Michael J needs to come back. So I'm calling him. He's not answering. I'm calling him. He's not answering. I call his dad, and I'm like, hey, CPS just took Malaya from me, and if we don't bring Michael J, they're going to take Malaya, and they're not going to give her back at all. And he was like, okay, I'm going to call Michael. And Michael's like, I'm not fucking taking my son over there. This is my son. I'll take him and I'll leave. I said, I'll lose my daughter forever. Like, you need to bring him. You know, I don't want to lose him either, but I don't want to lose my daughter either, you know? So he comes and he brings my son, and, you know, my son's holding on to us. And my mom's like, just give him to us. Just give him to us. You know, he went and he was like crying a little bit. And I was just like, dang, dude. And I think that's the first time ever I felt like, oh my God, like, what kind of human am I? What kind of person? You know, like, how dare I do that? You know, I didn't even know how to feel.
Yeah.
Like, go hang out with my kids' dad, because obviously me and him are both hurt. So we go share our hurt together. And he has meth. And he's like, I'm crying and I'm crying and I'm crying and I can't stop crying. And I'm like, we don't have my daughter. I'm not changing her diaper. We don't have Michael J. Like, he's like, here, just take this. Like, you're going to be okay. And I'm like, what is it? He's like, just take it. It's going to make you feel better. All right. It's meth. I'm snorting it. And it's not that it numbed me, because it didn't. It made me think more, you know? And for like, I'm going to say like a whole 3 to 4 days, I was doing it. This is my first time, and I just kept doing it because I didn't care. I just felt like dying, you know? I was just like, oh, I can't take this pain. Like, it's a pain that nobody wants to feel, you know? It sucks and it hurts. So I'm just doing this and I'm doing it, and I'm looking at my kids' dad, and he doesn't even look like he cares, to be honest. I mean, maybe he did, but maybe we showed it in a different way, you know? But I was like, I can't do this no more. Like, we're not doing anything. Like, we're not doing anything. Like, I need to get the kids back, you know? He's like, you're not leaving. Yeah, I am. No, you're not. So he wouldn't let me leave.
Where were you guys?
Honestly, we were parked in front of his grandpa's house, living in either his car or my van. So my van had a flat tire. So one day I was like, hey, we need to get the van after those 4 days. I was like, I need to get a tire for the car because we have court, we got to show up. So at that point, his grandpa then put on the tire. He wouldn't give me the keys to the car at all. But this day.
So when you had your kids, you guys were living in the car?
No, my mom. Okay. Oh, okay. So I skipped a part again.
It's okay.
After my kids got taken away, I lost my whole family.
Got kicked out.
My mom kicked me out. She wanted nothing to do with me. My sister didn't want to talk to me no more. My little sister, my brother, nobody. So when I lost my kids, I lost my kids' father. I lost everything that I had. I lost it all in one day. It was that fast, and it hurt. And I thought the only thing I had was my kids' father at the end, because that's the only person I stayed with. So I started sleeping in the car with him for 4 days, just for this time, for 4 days. And as him and his grandpa were putting the tire on my car, and then he saw like turn it on and reverse it and put it up to see if the tire's on right. So my mindset was like, oh yes, like I'm about to leave, like I can't keep doing this,
Yeah.
So I got in there, I turned on the car, he's looking at me, I locked the doors right away, and he's like, what are you doing? And I reverse fast, he's chasing the car, and I pull out and I'm gone. I'm like, I can't do this no more. This is not me. I want my kids, and I was very like strong on that, and I left him there. And I went and tried to put myself into rehab. It took me 2 days to get into this rehab, but I stayed clean those 2 days, and then I put myself in rehab.
How did you find the rehab?
Oh, CPS.
Oh, okay.
CPS gave me all the information. Like, if you want to get your kids back, this is what you're going to have to do.
Oh, praise God for that.
Yeah, so they gave me all the information, and I put myself in rehab. While all of this is going on, I found out I was pregnant again. Yes, girl. So then I'm like, oh my gosh. Went to rehab. They took pregnancy tests. You're pregnant. I was like, are you kidding me? Like I want to do an abortion. Like, I can't do this. I lost my kids. I can't be responsible to take care of another kid. Well, when I went in to go get the abortion, I couldn't because I'm anemic, and I already don't have enough blood. And if I lose any amount of blood, to get this abortion, so then I was stuck. I had to have the big kid, and he's my baby. I love him. I'm so glad I did it, girl. But so then I'm pregnant in rehab, and I stay in there for about 4 to 5 months. I'm clean. I'm taking something called Subutex that they give you in there because they say you could harm your baby if you don't take something, because I got off the Norcos, I could harm it. I don't know. I had to do what they said. I was under their authority, and that's what I did. Kept showing up to court clean, and I would see him. He was still on drugs and stuff, and he was calling to check on me in the rehab and stuff like that. And as I'm getting sober and clean, I'm telling him come on, you could do it too. I want to be there. Now I'm pregnant again. we have another kid coming,
Right, let's make it work. Yeah.
Yes. And then he's like, all right, but he never fought to get right. Never fought to do anything.
Till this day?
Till this day.
Wow.
So I get out of rehab. My mom lets me.
Okay, hold on, wait. So do you think that the shift in him was because he started the drugs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big time. That's not him. That's not who he is. Girl, he
demonic,
was so handsome. I'm not calling him ugly now for anybody that's gonna listen to this. It's his family. But he has tattoos all over his face now, girl. You can't even see his face, and very different than what I knew.
Do you still talk to him?
No, and not at all. The last time I talked to him was that me and him actually talked. Was last year. He calls for my son's birthday, tell him happy birthday or whatever, and I just gave him the phone and he don't really want to talk to me either.
Yeah.
I told him hey, I don't hate you, I don't dislike you, there's nothing like that. I said, I know we're not going to be together and we'll never be able to be together. I said, but these are still our kids, and I feel we owe them, that, to be respectful to each other. There's no reason to hate each other, you know what I mean? That's out, and me learning God, I just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Before I used to say things like, man, I wish you died.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I stabbed him.
Girl, I love you, dude.
I stabbed him. I stabbed him in the arm.
Oh my God, you're so gangster. I love it.
I was like,
wait, was this when was this?
Okay, so that's after we got the kids taken away and stuff, and so I got out of rehab, and I went to my mom's house, and I was like, well, maybe we could work this out, but he was living at his dad's, I was living at my mom's, and then I had the baby, and he was like only talking to me sometimes, so he got on my nerves. I was like, I'm not gonna call him when the baby's born because you weren't here. I'm the one that did all the fight. Like, no, you know. So I called him after the baby was born. I did it intentional, and he was like, "That's messed up," and blah 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 blah. It's like whatever. Well, I started hanging out with him with the baby, and letting him see the baby, even though he wasn't seeing our other kids. Like,
so where are the other kids at this point?
So my other kids were in foster care, but then while I was in rehab, my mom came to me and visited me in there and said, "Hey, I think we should give him to your brother and my sister-in-law, and you'll be able to see him whenever you want." They made it sound so good, like we're family, like, it's better to keep it close. That's how they made it. And I was like, man, that does sound better than the foster care, Yeah, I'll do it. I'll talk to Michael. Michael, we're going to give the kids to my brother. They said that they'll let us see him more, just made it sound like better chance, We did that. Well, that was very bad. My brothers, nothing towards my sister-in-law or my brother. I love them. My sister-in-law can't have kids, and I think she got very attached to my kids. No, within a month or two that they had my kids, they were calling them mom and dad. And I was still in my worldly way, not knowing God, and I was mad. I was like, that ain't your mom. I'm your mom, Like, you don't be calling her mom. And it started, like, an issue, problems.
How old were they now? Or when they got
one of them was, Malaya had just turned, like, 1.5. Michael was, like, 2.5. She'll say mama, or, Michael could talk, but Michael knew those were not his parents. My little son knew those were not his parents, He always loved me and his dad, till this day he still does. Malaya doesn't really know, So, my kids went with my brother and them. I had Achille for 4 months until my kids' dad came to my mom's house, wanted to see my son. He was on drugs. I went back to doing pills, and I started tweaking while I had Achille. And he knew that, so we were doing drugs while I had Achille. And we got in a fight, and he broke my mom's window. He hit me, and somebody called CPS. And CPS came the next day and was like, I heard you were swinging your baby outside and hitting him and telling him you wish you never had him. You wish that he was dead, that you love drugs more than him. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Never did I say that. Never did I say that. I'm going to grab my water.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And CPS was all like, yeah, we need to check the baby for bruises.
So someone lied and said that.
Yes. And because I had a CPS case open already with my kids taken, and because I didn't call the cops when my kids' dad did what he did, I put my baby in danger. And they took him that same day. They came and got him and stuff. So for 4 months I had him, and they took him from me. They gave him to my brother and his wife too, but my brother and his wife couldn't take it. They said he cried too much for me in the night. So then my kids' dad, mom and dad took Achille. So Michael.
Wait, who took it?
My kids' dad's parents.
Oh, okay.
So they took Achille, and Michael Malaya stayed with my brother and his wife. So now I'm kidless again. Now I have a whole new case with my other son. And I'm like, I'm losing it. I'm like, here we go again. So I start tweaking again. Like how hard I start, and I go back with him again. And my mom kicks me out again. I start tweaking, and I start using that drug very, very badly.
Meth.
A lot, yes, a lot. And I was taking Norcos too. And I was smoking weed too. And I was drinking too. I was doing any and everything at this point. I thought I was never going to get my kids back. And through the process of, Achille being gone, girl, I never missed a visit. I always bought them stuff with what I could. I tried to get a job here and there. I was in and out of jobs. Never did I miss a visit, though. Never did I give a dirty drug test. I was doing drugs, but never did I give a dirty drug test. I knew when the testing was. I knew when I had a visit. I stopped. How I did that, I don't know. And sometimes I did sneaky things like putting bottles in me with fake pee to let it. I didn't want to give a drug test. And I took all the classes, domestic violence, the child one. I took all the classes. I did everything that they asked of me. And then I finally stopped using because I went back onto Subutex. I stopped using and I just used the Subutex that they were prescribing me. I stopped using and I started doing that. And I started doing good again. I started getting a job. You know, I stayed away from my kids' dad again. And then my brother and his wife got attached to my kids. So every visit they would say, oh, well, she's cussing too much. Oh, she's giving them too much candy. Oh, she's doing this. Like making complaints on me all the time. And my kids' grandparents, they wouldn't do it so often, but one time they did call and say, oh, well, she's drinking and posting it, and the CPS worker, well, she don't got her kids, so nobody says she didn't drink, you know?
Yeah.
And my mom was saying, oh, I don't think it's fit to give back her kids, you know, like just both.
So everybody was going against
everybody, girl. And I was just like, I just started doing drugs again because I was like, this is never going to work. Everything about me is bad. Everything I do is bad. I had not one person on my side besides God, because I told God one night, I cried in my car and I said, if I don't get my kids back, I'm gonna kill myself. I wouldn't be able to handle it. Please, God, like, you know I'm not this person. Like, you know that this is not me. I'm just hurt. I'm broken. I'm lost. The family that I used to love and I thought used to love me is making all these accusations and half of them are not true. And obviously my kids' dad's not going to be on my side, you know. They're not my family. And then I have them. And then I have my CPS worker that does not like me at all. And I promise you, after I cried that day, and I said God because I knew there was a God, but I didn't know what he could do. I didn't know anything about him. I just knew to cry to him, you know. And I was also cussing at him, telling him I hated him for all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. The next day I get a call. And they say, you have court in a week, just to let you know. And I'm like, okay, cool. Go to court. Still didn't get my kids back. But the next day after that court date, CPS worker that doesn't like me and the supervisor called me and they said, we have a very important meeting that we need to talk about. And I'm like, here we go, something again. They said, right, great.
Yeah.
You need to be in here. Okay, I'll be there. I go in there. They're in the office. Like, sit down. And the CPS worker, first thing she told me is, I just really want to apologize to you. I want to apologize to you for me taking everybody else's side but you. The judge keeps telling me, why does he keep seeing you in here when you've done everything that you were supposed to do for those kids and passing drug tests and doing everything you're supposed to, but why have you not got your kids back? She was like, and I'm so sorry that I believed everybody else around me instead of looking at the things you've done. And the supervisor apologized to me too. So then she looked at me and she said, next Friday, what time do you want your kids? You're going to pick them up. And I said, what? It was going to be my first time having them by myself and an overnight visit, you know? And I was like, she's like, you give me a time. I don't care what they say. You give me a time that you want to pick them up. You get them. And when do you want to bring them back? On Sunday, whatever time you want. And then I told her, and then she's all, and just to let you know, after that, 2 weeks, you'll be getting your kids back. And I said, what? No way.
I love God so much, dude.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I was like, ooh.
Okay, so at that moment, though, did you know, like, God or not yet? Like, did you, because you prayed that or you spoke to him and the next day that happened, right?
Yeah, I still didn't think about him.
Yeah. No, I mean,
that's it was my thought, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I kind of said, like, okay, if there's a God, like, okay. No, but I did think in my head, like, okay, God.
Yeah.
This is really happening, right? Like, I couldn't believe it. Well, I got my kids back. I got a job. I was working. I was doing good, you know? And then I fell back into my addiction. Like, you know, that addiction is something so hard to...
It's a stronghold.
Yeah, girls, like, I was telling my mom, it's like, you know, when you have to itch somewhere and you're like, oh my God, somebody itched that for me. It has to be itch because it's going to bother me all day, right? That's like how a drug is, like your body's fiending for it, like, you know? And I wasn't like that though. I don't know what made me, okay, so I
just want to take a brief moment to share with you a ministry that I have personally partnered up with, and I want to give you guys the same opportunity. If you're listening to this video, watching this video, most likely you and I both have 100% access to clean water in some way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, that's not the reality for a lot of people. I just want to give you a quick fact. It's estimated that Anywhere between 4 and 5 million children die from dehydration every year around the world. Pastor Sean, a good friend of mine, has created a ministry called the Genesis Foundation, where not only are they meeting the needs of people that are in need of water, but they're also giving and sharing the word of God. And so they have created this ministry where they build systems, water wells, where before these families would have to walk miles and miles for access to water. And it's not clean water most of the time. It's actually dangerous water. And so with that being said, the Genesis Foundation now gives them access to a system, a well system, a opportunity to be able to get clean water for a lifetime there in their villages. And not only that, but they're sharing the gospel, they're sharing the good news and leading people to salvation, leading them through baptisms. It's a beautiful ministry. And so it is based out in Pakistan. They focus there and the villages around the surrounding area. But this is such a beautiful ministry to partner up with. Feel free to visit the website and also reach out to Pastor Sean. He has an Instagram and Facebook, which we'll link in the show notes. And he would love to connect with you. He loves giving you updates so you are aware that your funds aren't just going to a random link or a random website. It's actually impacting people. It's actually impacting people's hydration and their spiritual hydration, so they will never ever thirst again. Okay, so that night though, so when you got your kids back, or when they told you you were gonna get your kids back, you didn't think it was like God, or you kind of thought
okay, so I thought, but I didn't know. I didn't know God like that, so I didn't know He could really do something like that. That wasn't my thought, I was just oh my God, they finally see me for what I did. Still thinking it was me. Yeah. So I got my kids back.
How long after did you just get back into your addiction?
That'd be like 6 months. 6 months, and I started using again, and I started using bad. And I told my brother, because I knew my daughter loved him. Look, when I got my kids back, everybody told me, don't let your kids go see your brother or his wife. Like, you better do what they did to you. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If there's one thing I know, that God does live in me, because I still treated them different. I still let them see my daughter after what they did. I still, let her go over there. I was not that person. I was like, I always told myself, I don't want to be how people are to me. I want to be better than that, like show a difference. I might be a drug addict, whatever I am, but I will be a better person, So I let them see her. But as I'm going through this, I could have kept my daughter with my father, because I moved in with my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, and their dad was in jail. And so I had all three of the kids with them. And as I'm like doing my addiction and stuff, obviously you could tell I'm losing weight, I'm getting skinny again. And I told my brother, like, hey, take Malay, I'm messing up again. I'd be honest. I didn't care what nobody, I'd be honest. I knew, if I knew one thing, I didn't want my kids seeing me like that, and I knew I couldn't take care of them the way I was supposed to on drugs, and I loved them that much to like let them go. I can't do it. I shouldn't be doing this, but I have a problem. Yeah. Well, I leave my daughter with my brother, and then I leave my boys with my father-in-law and mother-in-law, and go straight back into addiction. This time, I end up being with my mom, but then the addiction gets so bad where I'm like tripping out, I'm very much losing my mind.
Like you're like paranoia, or what? Or what do you mean?
Yeah, paranoia, like, and I'm just losing myself of who I am, and, just thinking things that my family do and they don't do, like just tripping out. And I told my mom, I can't do this no more. My father-in-law, Mr. Dominguez, he told me, if you ever want to go to the home, you let me know. And I was like, all right. And I was with their son again when he got out. And we were on the streets together again. We would be fighting, and I didn't want nobody hitting me. I wasn't about to do that no more. So he hit me, and I stabbed him. I stabbed him in his arm. And then I acted like, I was like, now what? Like, now what? But I'm like, I just didn't want to be abused no more, and I wanted somebody to get the picture. Like, I ain't no punk, like, that's not me, like, you know? And after I did all that, his grandma took the knife and was like, we should call the cops. And my uncle's like, you better leave, he's gonna snitch you out, like, And I'm like, oh my God, I'm probably gonna go to jail right now, But, oh, well, he shouldn't have hit me, I don't care, Yeah. But, So then I go to my mom's and I'm like, I can't take it no more. Like, I need help. You know, like I need
You're
help.
just spiraling out of control.
Yeah, I was acting a fool. I was fighting everybody. I was just doing the most. And girl, I would go into clubs and I would just be like, let her look at me. Let her look at me. They're like, we just got in here. Calm down, you know. I don't care. Like, you know, and I'll get down with whoever. And I was just like, I'm doing too much. This is too much, you know. And I feel like hate towards myself. When you feel hate towards yourself,
yeah,
you don't even know like how to feel like when you hate how you act, when you hate how you walk.
it's such a it's just like a weird feeling because you're just like, did I hate?
Like, ugh, but that's you.
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
that's disgusting. I disgusted myself, straight up disgusted myself. And then I remember that what my father-in-law said, if you ever, you know, decide that you want to, you know, because rehab, I didn't want to go back to rehab. There's nothing that rehab. I met more drug addicts in rehab. I did more drugs with people in rehab that I met. We went and got out and did the same thing. You get me? There was nothing there that I need to go back to rehab. I never said that when I got out of rehab. Now,
you knew that it was not helping you.
Nah, yeah, I was like, there's no point of that. 12-step didn't help, you know, like nothing that they did help me. My mentality was still where it was when I first went in there. So when he told me about the home, he's like, I'll get you in. He called, and then the next day, bam, you can go into the home now. And I was like, what? So I went in there and they're like, oh no, you can't come into the home. You're taking that Subutex. You're not allowed to take that here. We don't take anything. We solely depend on the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, well, what the heck is that?
You're like, I haven't heard that one.
To be withdrawing and stuff. Like, no, I can't do that. They're like, no, you could do it. And I'm like, if you want to change. And I'm like, I do want to change, but I can't withdraw from that. That's worse than the Norcos. Like, no, you're going to have to. All right, whatever, dude. Like, let me do this. You know, I want to do this. So I go into the home.
When was this?
That was in...
What year?
2020. I'm going to say like in June or July. It was hot. So I remember it was hot. So, and then I go in there and I'm not going to lie, girl, I was in there for 2 days. And I was like, oh, nope, I ain't doing this. This is weird. They be praying at the table. Like, what are you guys talking about, you know? First Bible study I had, I'll never forget this. This is how much I didn't know about God. Everybody says, okay, so now what did you like in that chapter? Just pick a scripture. And I was looking, I was like, I'm hearing everybody else out, and I'm like, oh, I have no clue what the hell they're talking about. So, what do you like? I don't know what I like. Well, you need to pick one. And I'm like, oh, they're either salt of the world. Well, why do you like that? Because I like salt. Girl, I'm not even playing. That's what I said. And they were like, what? And I was like, you said which one I like. I like salt, so the salt of the world sounded good to me. It's okay. We're gonna work on this, you know? That's how much I didn't know about God.
Yeah.
You know? And then I
like salt. It adds flavor.
to the world. Yeah, it sounded good. So I was like, I picked that one. Well, what's the reason behind it? I don't know. I just said salt and I like salt. So can we go now? You said to pick and I did, you know? And me, I'm still in like my worldly ways. You know? They're like all like already like sold into God, you know? And I'm just like looking at them like, this is so annoying. Acting like they're like better than me. Like, you know, you start getting that mentality, you know? And then I leave the second day. I leave the home and I go back out to the street and they're like, if you leave, you can't come back. Okay, good, whatever. I don't care. I ain't trying to be here anyway. I leave. I meet some guy at Burger King. I go smoke dope. My mom's like, you ain't coming back over here. And I was like what?
Yeah.
So I called Miss Annette, the director, and I said, please, I'm so sorry for leaving, please. She's like, you better come back right now. If you're not back right now, you won't be able to come in. And no girls are allowed to leave and come back. So that was God also got to. And I was like, all right. So I go back, stay in there. I think I'm in there for 6 months. No. So then I leave a week after I left the 2 days. Because they got COVID. I said, no, girl, you know what I said?
Okay, that makes sense.
No, yeah. So I said, I didn't get COVID out there. How am I going to come in here and get COVID, with God? You know, that don't make no sense to me. I'm leaving. And I leave. So I go straight into the streets this time. I'm talking about I'm sleeping in slides. I'm sleeping at the park. I'm sleeping wherever I could sleep, hotel to hotel. I'm meeting random people on the streets. Like, I'm just literally this time living on the streets. My mom did not. She was mad that I left. And she had every reason to be. So I ended up being on the streets of San Bernardino, the streets of Redlands, the streets of Moreno Valley, walking everywhere, just doing dope, and a lot of it with people I did not know. And in the process of all this, you have to wait a month to go back into the home. You can't just go back. So So I kept asking after like the first 2 weeks that I was living in the streets. I was like, no, I need to go back. Like, I don't want to be out here. Like, it was my first real taste of like, oh, this is really like what.
Yeah, because you told me off camera that you really went back because you experienced some scary stuff in the streets. Like, so what happened?
Yeah, so so I met these people I didn't know, and I was doing dope with them, obviously, and there are some guys I didn't know them like that. I just knew that I knew them from the streets. That's it, right? And one night it was like 2:00 in the morning, and we were at a gas station on Alessandro, Moreno Valley at AM PM. It was in the corner, and I always carried knives and stuff on me just in case, because I ain't scared. Like, I'm not gonna get hurt, so I always carry stuff on me, weapons and stuff for my protection. So this guy told me, hey man, he was like, you're cool as hell and you're like super beautiful and they like that and you're down, like they like that a lot. And I'm like, who? Me, like, who are you talking about,
Yeah.
And check it out, like they gave us $10,000, like, hey, look at me. They're gonna take care of you though. They're gonna take care of you. You ain't even gotta worry about that. Like, and I'm like, wait, what? And he was like, he's right there. And it was a Mexican guy, like with a hat, belt, like he got out of a nice truck and he was like staring at me and I was like, what the? And I started cussing. I pulled out what I had, and I looked at him, and I was like, do you have a mom? Do you have a sister? You have a daughter? I'm somebody's mom, somebody's, sister. I'm a daughter. Like, you ain't gonna just take me. I went ham. Like, I got mad, I believe if my reaction was different, I would have got taken that day. But my reaction was so, like, ain't nobody gonna take me without a fight. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna just get taken like that. And that Mexican guy was just looking at me. He's like, hey, calm the F down, calm the F down. He's looking. You can't be causing scenes like that. You're going to be taken care of. And I was like, nah. I had a knife to his neck. I'm not going to lie, because he was like kneeling down. And I was like, no, girl, I promise you, as this is going on, a cop passes by. And they're like, what the heck? And a helicopter. And he was like, what the F? You're wired. And I'm like, and I lifted on my shirt. I was like, I ain't never talked to no cop. Like, I ain't wired. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, that's God. That's all I remember saying, that's God. And I'm like, the Mexican guy gets in his truck and he leaves once he sees the helicopter and the thing. And he's all, it doesn't matter where you go, they're going to find you, telling me. And I'm like booking backwards, but I'm running like backwards, like watching them like go backwards. Yeah. And I'm like hiding in bushes because I'm scared. Like, that's the first time I think I ever, like, I was scared. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, oh my God, I don't call my mom because I know my mom doesn't really want to like put up with me or hear me, I trip out a lot. And from 3:00 in the morning till 6:45 in the morning, I was hiding in bushes to bush. I'll switch bushes.
You were hiding from the Mexican guy?
Yeah, and the guys, because when he said
they were trying to traffic you, right?
Yeah. So when he said they'll find you wherever you go, I was scared. I was like, dang, like I need to like protect myself, So I kept hiding. And then finally, by like 6:45, as I'm hiding through all the bushes, because it's like a whole street up, there's a Food for Less. And my phone died. So I was waiting for Food for Less to open at 7. So it was already morning time, so I knew there's people out. So I stayed like at a bus thing where people could see me, And then I went straight to Food for Less in front of the cameras, where the cameras were. Because I just thought a lot, like, hey, this is what I need to do, so I'm in the areas of,
so I'm seen, yeah.
So then I went into Food for Less. As soon as they opened it, I went to the bathroom, I plugged my phone in, and I called my mom, and I said, like, I was crying. I was like, please take me to the home. At this point, girls, that very same day was a month marked that I could go back into the home. That same day was a month, and I could go back into the home. So I called Miss Annette, too, and I said, please, I will not leave. I will not do anything. This is serious, And she said yes. So I called my mom, and I'm like, please. She was like, no, you're just going to leave again, And I'm like, please, Mom, please. I beg you. Like, something's going to happen to me if not. And my mom was like, no. She hung up. Then she called me back. She was all like, where are you at? And I told her, and she's like, I'm gonna go get you right now. When I got in the car, she's like, I did not want to come do this. Something inside of me told me to come and do this. And now I know it was God, because it was real what happened, you know?
Yeah.
So I went to the home again, and I'm tripped out because of what happened to me. I'm traumatized now.
Yeah.
So you have to sleep in your own bunk bed at the women's home. You have to be in your room at 10 o'clock. Girl, I was sleeping in the living room with 2 knives in the wall on the couch like this. I would not move. They'll be like, you need to stop doing that. Nah. If they're gonna come get me, they have to come face first. Like, nobody can't come back here. Like, it's face first, you know. I'm not gonna get taken out like that. Like, I just felt strongly, you know, like, no. And then she was like, nobody's gonna get you. This is God's house, you know. And I'm like, well, where's he at?
Yeah.
I don't see nobody right here. You don't got no cameras. Like, no, you know. So they knew that I was like on a trip, and they physically didn't know what really happened to me, because I didn't share all that information just yet. You know, I didn't know them like that. So this time when I went in there after the first 4 days of me tripping, I would sleep with knives in my bed when they made me go up there, and girls started moving out of my room because they're like, she's holding knives in her bed, and, you know, we feel scared when she does something, you know. And I didn't know I was doing that to them because they talked to me normal, but there were times like the main head's like, hey, she's sleeping with knives.
Yeah,
you know?
she's tripping.
And then I started, and then once that went away, I would start going to sleep in my bed. And girl, if I didn't know the devil, I knew him, that there was a devil, because that night I went to sleep, the final night that I got to go to sleep, I think it was like the 3rd night, I seen demons flying on top of my bed, like, and I was like, oh my God, I was screaming, and they started praying over me, you know, and I was like, oh my God, you know, oh my God. And I knew something, I felt something in my heart, and this time,
spiritual was real. Like, you started to really see everything.
So then I forgot another part.
It's okay.
That I need to say too, because when I was in my addiction and I was living in the streets during like the little month process and stuff like that, I was going all kinds of different places. And one time I went with this guy named James, and he took me all the way to Orange County. And I never tried fentanyl in my life. And I was up for like 2 weeks, and I wanted to go to sleep. I could not go to sleep. And he was like, here, try this. I said, all right. Girl, I tried it. All I remember was, that's it. That's all I remember. And then I remember burning fire. I felt my body, but I didn't see my body. I seen demons just like eating at me, and I seen like the devil laughing at me, and I heard people screaming and crying, and I was, then I didn't know what that was. I do now, because I know I went to hell. While I was down there, and all the fire, the burning, and not seeing my body, you know, and just now I knew it was my spirit. Now knowing God, I knew it was my spirit. That's why I didn't see my body, and the demons that were attacking me, and the devil that was laughing in my face. When the ambulance and the fire truck and them were there, I guess my friend tried to throw me in cold water to wake me up. It didn't wake me up and stuff. So he had to call whoever. They said my heart stopped, you know, for a while, and they had those things on me when I woke up, and I thought they were demons, and I was screaming, get away from me, oh my God, you're the devil. They're like, you're hallucinating. So I thought that's what it was the whole time. I thought I was hallucinating because I didn't know God. I didn't know the devil. I didn't know hell. I didn't know how any of that worked. Now I know that's exactly where I went.
Is that crazy? You didn't know, but you experienced it?
Yes,
it's real.
And I just believed them. I was hallucinating. That's what I thought. Like, maybe I was tripped out. I never did that drug before. I never touched that drug again. You know, but I went to the home, and then this time, I started reading the Bible. I started reading, and I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how to read. I didn't want to read in front of people, but I'm going to say it was like a month in there already. I started getting better at reading. I started getting better at understanding the word. I heard things that I knew didn't come from myself. And as I'm hearing this stuff, like, it's like, you're going to go to like the darkest areas. I want you to go, because I created you to be like them, to fit in with them, so they know, you know. And I'm hearing these things, and I'm reading my Bible, and I close my Bible, and I'm all, oh my God, I'm in the woman's home. Oh my God, I know what he wants me to do. He wants me to go to like dark areas in the world, like, you know, people like me, like, to pull them out. Like, and girl, that next week, Rob Sanchez came into the Way We're Outreach. He's a prophet. He prophesied it on me. And 3 days later, another prophet came in, and he called me and he prophesied on me. And the whole church was like, God is calling you. Like, there's something so big on your life, you know? And everything that they prophesied on me, God had already told me a week prior. And all the girls were like, you just told us that. I was like, that's confirmation. Like, no, now I know I'm hearing him. You know? Like, it's crazy.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So then now I'm in deep. Now I'm like, oh my God, God gave me these words and I know it's him. Cause you know, like, that wasn't me. That's not things I've ever thought about, you know? And I'm strong. I'm feeling strong. And like, I think I was like 7 months in, and I felt like I knew I had to stay in there for a year, but I felt like I could go. It was my flesh, but I thought it was cool too. I was like, nah, God's with me. I got this, you know? Still kind of depending on self. I left the home. I was doing good for 4 months. Fell straight back into addiction. Dang. Again. Yeah. And then addiction for 2 months, went back into the home. 3 months. Got out, went back in again. Went back to drugs. It was a cycle. It was kept happening and happening and happening. This last time, which is the 7th time that I was going to put myself, I even went to Oregon. I'm going to tell you guys something about addiction, like I told my mom the other day. My family looked at me while I'm in this addiction saying, well, she don't want it. She keeps going back. That's everybody's mindset. What does she keep going back for? She knows there's a God. She knows this. See, things are not that simple. I wish they were. What my family didn't notice is that nobody made me go back to that home. I kept wanting to go back in there. There was something that God left a mark in my heart, and I knew I had to do better, right? It was different this time. It was, I know I kept going back, but every time I kept going back, I felt guilty. I felt shameful. I felt like I know better. Like, you know, like
you're going through the sanctification process.
Yes, just like, you know, and then I hated myself when I started doing it, and, you know, and I needed to get that off. I needed to, you know, my family will never understand that, or people that think like, oh, well, they just keep going back to addiction. It's not just keep going back to addiction. It's survival mode sometimes. It's like your mind thinks that you need that to survive, you know, or that's the only way that you'll be able to live good, you know, like the devil's a liar, you know, and me going through this addiction, I wish my family would have seen like, dang, she keeps fighting. Like, why does she keep going back to that home? Not just to waste time, because that's wasting my time. Seriously, if I'm just going back and forth, it's wasting my time.
Yeah, logically, why would you do that?
Yeah, like, why? Exactly. I kept going back because I wanted to get better. I was trying to get better. I was not being put in that home. I wasn't a court order. It wasn't the judge telling me. It wasn't cops making me go back. I wanted to get better, and I kept falling, and I kept getting trapped, and I kept, you know what I mean? It didn't make sense to me. And this final last time, I was going to kill myself. I was done. I was like, I keep trying. I don't know what else to do. I believe in you. I do have faith in you, God. I don't know what's going on. Like, I know I'm not this person.
Yeah.
I know this is not who you created me, and I know I keep going back. I'm weak. I know you can't use the person that I am because you've showed me everything, and I still keep going back, God. And I know you're probably tired of me because I'm tired of me. I'm trying to figure out why I'm not getting it right, you know? And I'm disappointed in myself because I'm disappointing the person that saved my life, you know? And gave me back my kids, and it hurt me, and that was bringing me down because I think that was the lies of the enemy. Like, hey, you're not worthy. Look at you, keep going back, and it made me fall more like, dang, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. And last time when I wanted to kill myself, I tried to take my car off of Richie Canyon, and my car locked. The steering wheel locked, girl, and all I heard was go to church. And I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to die. Like, I went to church, and it was impartation weekend. 3 days, I went every day. The 3rd day, I had a whole sack in my car. I had a pipe in my car, my little vape pen. And I went in there, and I yelled at God. And sometimes, I'm just going to say, is you got to yell at him. You got to get his attention. You can fight with him. Yeah, and I went in there, and I got on my knees, and I said, I am so tired of being like this. Like, I miss my kids. This is not the mom you called me to be. This is not the person you called me to be. If you're so real, if you're so powerful, God, like you say you are, do something. You know I don't want to be like this. I hate myself. Like, I'm tired. Yeah. Like, come on. And as I'm like this, I promise you, I just feel like a peace come over my body. Yeah. And I'm quiet. And I'm like, please. I'm begging you. You said knocking, you shall receive. Like, I'm not asking for millions of dollars. I'm not asking to be rich. I'm asking to be what you called me to be. I'm asking to be the mom that you know I could be. You know, like, please help me. And that day, I went to my car, and usually I tell God, I'm going to just finish this and then I'm done, God. I don't need to take it no more. That day I went to my car and I looked at the whole sack I had, the pipe, and I just looked at it, and with everything
This is at the church parking lot?
This is a church parking lot, yeah. Sat in there and looked at it. I was like, I'm done. This is it. And as I'm driving out, I throw the pipe out. I throw the sack out. I throw my vape pen out. And I never touched it since. You know? I've not even thought about it. And I was like, God, you are so real. Yeah. You know? And I thank you so much, because who I am now, this is who I am. You know, I'm very joyful. I'm very loving.
You're such a beautiful person.
And, you know, even in my worst times on my drugs, I would talk about God after I got out the home. You know, I said, they'd be like, stop talking about him. We're doing drugs right now. Like, that don't even make sense. Like, you're ruining our high. And I don't care. Yeah. I know there's a God, and I know, like, we shouldn't be doing this. Like, wow, we're not going to get high with you. Don't. You know, I just feel like, but, I've been clean ever since, and I've not touched anything, and I have my boys back, and I'm a mom, and I live with my babies, and I get to see them, you know, I get to raise them now, you know, and not only that, you know, all the issues that I had with my brother recently.
Does your brother have your daughter?
He does.
Okay.
So why I would fall back, I think, into drugs a lot of the time, and God just revealed things. You know how he reveals it in time, you're like, oh, that's why. Yeah. So a lot of times I would fall back into drugs, and I'm not going to lie to everybody. I told myself, if I can't have my daughter, I don't want my boys. It's not fair. I don't want them. If I don't have her, I'm not doing it. That's just what I feel like, you know? And me doing things like that, it led me back to my addictions a lot of the times, because that was dumb. I wanted my daughter so bad, and I didn't have faith in God enough to know that just like I get to see my boys, he's going to make that happen. No, I want it right now. I want it right now, God. You want it, yeah. And God was like, no. And this time, man, I have been so patient, so unbothered by me not having my daughter, that my brother let me spend my birthday with my daughter's birthday with her.
How old is she now?
She's 6. Wow. And he lets me call her all the time. And I've been seeing her way more often. Just me saying, okay, I am so done thinking my way.
You surrendered.
Yeah, I'm so done. Like, how dare I think that you're not going to bless me when you are blessing me in my mess? How much more are you going to bless me, God, when I've surrendered and I gave everything to you? Yeah. Right? Like, how dare I think that you're not going to do it? You've already did. Yeah. You know, you saved my life, one, you know? Yeah. So as I'm doing all of this stuff, you know, I'm serving at the church all the time, and I'm getting to me again, you know? I'm like, all of
you
that.
You have literally such a glow to you. It's like palpable. Like, even you just walking in church, and just when you're speaking, you could see the Holy Spirit just beaming out of you.
Yeah, I you know what? I feel good too when I feel that. Like, I helped other girls in the home. Like, you know what I told myself? Because recently I just got invited to do Inc. magazine, and there was like 200 girls, and I was in like the top 5 at the end. And then I went to 3, you know, and I kept telling myself, oh, I'm going to do it. Maybe this is a sign from God. Like, I'm going to get this money, right? And God had to check me and say, no, that's the devil turning you straight back from where I brought you from, you know? Yeah. And that money's not worth it, you know? I'm going to give you more. And I was like, dang, I need money right now, though, God. Like, I need to take care of my kids. Like, I don't got a job, you know? No, you don't. And me being obedient and listening to God that time, God has provided everything. Maybe it's not what I want, but it's what I need. You know, and sometimes we don't understand that. Yeah. Sometimes as people, we don't understand, like, well, that's not what I wanted. Well, sometimes the things we want for us are not good for us, and we don't understand that, but our Father does. And our Father wants what's best for us, you know, and to accept, like, okay, God, I accept that. I know you know what's best for me more than I know what's best for me.
And trusting that he sees what we can't see.
Yes, exactly. So I'm like, you know what, whatever, you know, and I was like, I think my whole thing was I was still trying to kind of be famous in the world because I had a lot of opportunities to be like, I was going to be in the Bad Girls Club, like, and a lot of things like I was not an age of time to do that. And then I was going to do this other show for MTV and they didn't pick it up. And my mom's like, maybe God stopped you from doing that. But then God brought me the scripture to like, you weren't meant to be famous in the world, but you're going to be famous in me, you know? And I'm like, I get it now. Like, I get why I was so different. I get why I wasn't liked in the streets. Like, I didn't do anything to nobody in the streets, but a lot of girls didn't like me. You know, and why didn't I try to figure out why don't they like me? I was very respectful to everybody, you know, but then I read that scripture where it says, well, if they hated you, remember they hated me first, you know? And I was like, so when I
because you had the spirit, you still had like, you were planting seeds of God, and just by your way of being, I feel like people just didn't like it because you're his, you know?
Yes, and I was just like, now I get everything makes sense. Like, I was never, because I always looked at other drug addicts, right? And I compared, and I said, well, that's not cool. Like, they still got a place and everything together. Like, why couldn't I just do that and be on drugs, right? Me questioning. And God told me, if you were comfortable and I made you comfortable down there, you would have stayed down there like that. You're a visitor down there. This is temporary. You go to the heavenly realms.
Yeah.
I was never trying to make you fit into somewhere you don't belong. Now you know you don't belong there. Now what do? You know? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you know, it makes sense. It makes sense
those revelations are so sweet.
You know, girl, like, it makes sense. Now I know why I was never like a successful drug addict, or because you see some successful drug addicts, or you see people that just are comfortable that their moms let them stay at their house on drugs. I'm like, why couldn't my mom do that? Right? But God's like, if I would have never,
you would have
stayed there, and that's not what I wanted for you. You know, you know how it says endurance creates your character, you know, like stuff like that. I had to go through that. Now I can tell other girls that are on the streets and stuff, like what I went through, and even people that are about to be human trafficked, like that's scary stuff. But there is a God, you know what I mean? And even when you don't deserve it, he's right there saving you. You don't even acknowledge that, you know? And I guess I want everybody to know, like, if you really want change and you really want it and you really follow the instructions in the Bible, I promise you, your whole life is going to be changed, because I finally got tired of myself. And I finally got tired of listening to what Ilene wants to do. Then I started listening to the word. Then I started like, okay, let me love them through that. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, because I'm not, girl.
No one's perfect.
I'm not perfect. Like, sometimes I fell in little areas of my attitude, you know, and then God checks me right. And you know, when you have the Holy Spirit checks you right away. Like, really?
He's like, daughter, sit down right now.
He's like, really? Like, what are you doing? Like, that was your chance to show the God. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know?
But I feel like conviction is such a beautiful gift that we have.
It is, because you know it's God over you, and he's correcting you, because he corrects and disciplines the ones he loves. Right? So
it's comforting. It's a good, I want to get checked by him.
And at first I was kind of mad at him, because in the home, when I was in the home, you have to give your phone. And I'll be honest, okay, because I can't lie. When I was in the streets, I was doing things I wasn't supposed to. I was sleeping with people, and sometimes I was sleeping with people for money. That's the truth. And that was very shameful upon myself. I hated myself for doing that, but I did it. Well, they got into my phone, and, you know, people found out what I did. And I was mad. I was mad at the church. I was mad at everybody. Like, how dare you guys go through my stuff and tell people what I did? And, you know, and then I read Ezekiel where, you know, he says, like, you know, I made you beautiful. I made you everything that you are. And then you went and dirtied yourself all up again. Now I'm going to expose you, you know? And I do it because I love you, not because I don't love you, but so you could stop. And I'm not going to lie, if he didn't do that to me, I know I was mad, I was frustrated, I had a lot of hate towards the church, like, how dare you guys? But if you read God's word and he's talking to you, and then you're like, wait, that wasn't them, that was God using them to do that, to correct my mess up. Now I receive that, I messed that up, I did that, you know? It needed to be exposed, because I would have kept doing it. You get me? Like, they don't know, you know, but God doesn't. God straight said, oh, you think I don't see what you're doing? I see what you're
I'm
doing.
saying he knows how to discipline us. He knows exactly what we need in order to correct us.
Yeah, and I got corrected, and I ain't never did it again. I was like, Lord, like, I get it, like, at first I was mad at him too, but he loves me and he wants me to do better, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's the only person that's ever loved me. If he didn't love me and pursue me all those times I left the home and came back, I think I'd have been like, there's no God. But because he did love me unconditionally through my mess, and he wasn't like people like, oh, there she goes again, I'm tired of her. They automatically give up on you, but God never gave up on me. He never left me. He kept blessing me in my mess. I was like, why are you doing this? To show you that I love you.
Honestly, it does not make sense the way he loves us and how he chases after us.
Yes.
Literally.
I'm like, you're not going to want me now I did this. You're not going to want me now I
He's
did
like,
this. And he's like, no, I'm still right here,
Yeah.
Like, my love, I think, because I don't know what love is, because my mom, I'm not saying my mom didn't love us, but my mom didn't know how to love us.
Right.
My mom grew up with no mom and dad. My mom grew up trying to do things on her own. My mom used to be very abusive to us. My mom used to hit us a lot growing up, like, a lot, and she apologizes, and I don't blame her. She didn't know. There's no book on being a mom. But she didn't know how to love us, so we didn't grow up knowing what love was.
Yeah.
So love is like this bootlegged love, It's like the world's love.
Right.
But when God showed me and showed up with his love, I'm like, okay, this is weird. I'm being bad. Why are you doing this? Like, you still, why? He said, I love you. I want you to see my love is different. I will never do what they've done to you.
Yeah.
And unless unless we really realize, like, dang, this is different.
Yeah.
This is different. Like,
Yeah.
Instead of just thinking in a human way, like, as we do,
And a lot of it we can't really see until looking back. Yeah. Like, a lot of the times, like, oh my gosh, she was there. Oh my gosh, she saved me from that. Like,
girl, everything.
You're like, wow. And that's why I love, like, sitting down with people and just hearing testimonies, because then the people telling the testimony also remember. Like, I shared my testimony.
Yes, I seen it.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, you forget sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and not even forget, but it's just, like, not allowing yourself to really meditate on your whole journey and really seeing his hand through it all.
Upon you, yeah. And then, like, I'm gonna say one thing though. I am thankful. I'm thankful for going through everything that I went through, and I thank my mom for calling CPS when she did.
Yeah.
I thank my mom for, like, not letting me go back to her home. I thank God that he allowed me to go through those trials and tribulations and still be by me, and I am who I am today because of what I went through, and because I know God got me through it. Mm-hmm. I will never, everybody says, I'm so proud of you, Ilene. I am so proud of you. It wasn't me, though.
Yeah.
I could have never did this. I tried. Girl, it wasn't me. It was God. Right. But they're like, yeah, but you don't understand. It wasn't me. It was God. And it's still God to this day, Everything that I do, I get mad at myself because now that I know God, I know I don't live for myself. I don't live for my children. I don't live for my mom and dad nor my family. I live for the next soul that is lost, the next soul that is broken, the next soul that's hurting, that's prostituting themselves or going through drug addiction. I live for that person, because if God did it for me, he could do it for them, So now I know that I wasn't just put here for God to make me sober and clean for myself and for my family and for my kids. See, it's way much more than that. It's you're living for the people that God called you for, You were saved for that next person, that next soul, And your yes is going to help other people, just like Pastor Marco's yes helped me, because if it wasn't for him opening that church in that home, that yes got me to where I'm, it's just a yes.
Yeah.
And I want to have that yes too. I want to say yes because there's people out there that need it, and I want to stand in that. I want God to use me as his mouthpiece, as his hands, as his feet, I feel like he deserves so much for what he's done for me,
Yeah.
And I should be farther than where I'm at right now in my walk. But I think right now God's just showing me how to be a mom, sober and clean and stuff. I pray for any person that I see on the streets. I don't care. I hug them. I give them money. I give them my food. I do not care. Like, my mindset is so much different. I was so selfish before. I just cared about me and my family and kids. If we're good, I'm good.
Yeah.
Now I'm not like that. Now I'm my
Your heart breaks for those people.
man. Now I'm like, Mom, I gotta start doing something. Like these people, they need to hear this. They need to see, like, you know, God wants to use me, and I want Him to use me, and I don't want to be how do you say it, like one foot in, one foot out. Only sometimes I want Him to use me, Lord. Use me
lukewarm.
for every you know, person that's lost their kid, you know, that feels like they'll never get them back, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So I always ask this at the end, is for you to look into that camera and prophesize or pray over people that may be in your the situation that you were in, whether it's prostitution, on the streets, meth, getting their kids taken away, in abusive relationships, like everything and anything that you've been through, or just some encouragement.
So, okay. So what I am going to say is that there is a God, and He can make the impossible possible. And if you were just to lay down your thoughts and your thinking and everything that you believe, to believe what He can do for you, he can do all things. He is God, and it is promised. And if you just lay down your worries and everything that, you know, the enemy, how do I say this? I don't know how to say this. The enemy is such a liar.
Yeah. Yes.
But I'm going to tell you right now, like I tell myself every single day, if I didn't get punked on the streets, like half of us that live on the streets, I'm going to just say it, we think we gangsters, like ain't nobody gonna touch us or punk us, but in reality, the devil's punking us. He's punking us out of our blessing. He's punking us out of everything that God wants to give us, and we're just listening to that one little wrong voice, right? Instead of that one positive voice that just lifts us up and say, no, you got this.
Yeah.
God got you, you know, keep pushing, you know. I would say to lay down your thinking of yourself, because it doesn't get us nowhere. Like, how would I say this? If God could do it for me, I know He could do it for you. And He wants to do it for you.
Yeah.
He's waiting to do it for you.
Yes.
He's waiting for you to say, Lord, this is it. I want you, and I don't want no more of me. Like, you know, help me do this.
Yeah.
Instead of telling yourself,
I got it,
and saying, oh, well, that ain't never going to happen. Because we as people, as humans, tend to tell ourselves, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I could never do that. Mm-hmm. You want to know what I noticed this whole year and 7 months of me being clean and sober? I don't say I not nothing or I can't nothing. I'm not able to, but God's able to.
Hey.
I ain't got a house yet, but the house is getting prepared. I ain't got a new car yet, but God's giving me, girl, I'm just speaking this stuff into life. And as I'm doing this, like with my daughter, I don't have my daughter yet, but God's already working, you know, like, and now it's coming, because I'm speaking life over situations now. I'm not speaking death no more, because those negative thoughts that the enemy's trying to destruct us and ruin us with, a word ruins you.
Yeah.
One word ruins you. It's done, you know?
Yeah.
But positive motivation and going to church and reading your word and praying. And I mean, I don't know if all of these people are God believers. Are they?
Most of them, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
Well, most, but some aren't. And so I like to, because you never know, there's one person that falls on this video that is in the position that you're in, that you were in, you know? And so that's why I like to point it at them.
Okay. So do something different. And the thing I'm going to ask to be done different is stop relying on self. Mm-hmm. Self doesn't get us nowhere. Self gets us into the same hole that we can't get out.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say, it took me everything to change my mindset, to say, Ilene, you can't do this no more. It took me everything. But when I said, Ilene, you are done. You're not doing this no more. And I said, all right, God, let's try your way.
Yeah.
I promise you, no miracles. People expect to go to God and everything be perfect. That's not how things work either, guys. That's just not how things work.
Yeah.
But you giving your time to the Lord and letting Him know that you acknowledge Him, that you know that He's going to do it in His time, that His time is more perfect than your time. All of that, He will do what you want. But if it is something that he don't want for your life also, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be done. And it's just for the best interest of you.
Amen.
So don't give up just because it's, you know, you're not getting what you want from him. Like, trust in him. There's so much. We always want to hold this little box, like this message I seen. You always want to hold this little box, and God's like, can you give me the little box?
I'm trying to give you
big old box for you, and you still want to hold on to that little box. And because our mindsets have never thought outside of that little box. You know, we're so used to having this little box that if we give it up, we're like, what are we gonna do now? Right?
God's like, give it to me, and I'm gonna show you.
And you're not gonna do it. I'm going to do it. See, that's where the play comes in.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Yeah.
I'm doing it. Now just give it to me.
And in today's culture, it's a lot of like self-made, and you rely on yourself. And it's like, no, dude, that gets you literally nowhere. It can only take you so far. Like, it can only take you, even you can get some success or whatever. But what really matters, like that peace that surpasses all understanding, that strength, that confidence, that hope and faith literally only can come from Jesus, because we're nothing. Like, we're literally empty vessels with, like, we have nothing without him.
And imagine that, having everything down here. I'd be looking at like rich people, you know, and they're depressed and they're sad and they're taking all kinds of medications because they're missing the Lord. And when you're missing the Lord, you're missing a part of yourself, because you don't even know who you truly are until you know God. God recently just showed this to me, or revealed it to me the other day. He's all, you know how a car has a maker to that car, and if somebody's trying to find out how this car runs and what it runs off, they're gonna have to call who the manufacturer to show how this car is ran, right? And without that, you're not gonna know how it's ran, right?
Same.
God told me, you don't even know what you have inside of you until you come to me. You don't even know who you truly are until you come to me, because when you meet me, you meet you, who you really are.
Yeah, that's a word.
Know? And
that's
I'm like, Lord. And then he was all like, I put things inside of you that you would never imagine unless you keep seeking that, right? And then you start knowing, like, oh my God, that's what I was put here for, right? You think that you're this person, but you're not this person that lost the kids, this addicted person, the prostitution person. All of that stuff's not you. That's what the world's corrupted you to be. And that's what we think we are, because that's what we were molded into, right? But that's not you. And if you were just to say, you know what? No, this isn't me. Let me see who I really am. I promise you, you will have so much joy, because God is so good. And just to know that you're not that dark person, you know, and the world has such a hold on us, you know, like the desires and trying to fit in. And even the girls that are getting their boobs done and their butts done, and to please a guy, just to look at whatever, or even yourself, I'm going to say, okay? But doing all of that when God created you uniquely and perfectly in his creation to be what he called you to be, right? When you start acknowledging things like that, you would know that we were never like put here to satisfy the world. You know, the devil is a liar. You know, but
you can try. You're never going to quench that satisfaction, because it's not what you're
never going to have that in your heart. That's like, oh my God, I have all this joy. Everybody always tells me, why are you always smiling? You're always laughing. I got the joy of the Lord.
It's a real thing.
It is a real thing. It is something that, you know, nobody can take from you unless you let them, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. And I feel like a better person. I always tell myself, you thought you were a G getting into fights all the time, Ilene, right? I thought I was a G. I was like, you don't need to punk me.
Yeah.
You know how much more better it feels like to somebody get crazy at me and be like, you know what, sister, I'm just going to pray for you. Like, you know, my bad, whatever. And walk away. I ain't hindered. I ain't bothered. I ain't nothing. I'm just like, it's just a peace.
Holy and unbothered.
Right, exactly.
It's so peaceful.
But it takes a whole bunch out of you to get all crazy and act a fool, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dang, Lord, you're teaching me, like, now this is something G, like, somebody cussing at me, calling me a B and all this stuff, and for me just to walk away and say, like, you know what, sister, I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
That's
real gangster.
G.
That's a real G.
You're not getting bothered, or you're not letting nobody offend you. You're just like, nah.
And because you know it's the spirit behind the flesh and the blood, you know? So you're just like, if anything, you have more compassion and more like pity for them, you know, although the flesh can get maybe triggered, but it takes out that Holy Spirit self-control to only the Holy Spirit is, I heard this once, the Holy Spirit is the only opportunity or chance you have at being holy and unbothered. It's not because, oh, I like reached this point where I figured it out. No, it's the Holy Spirit's giving you the ability to have that self-control, have that peace, that gentleness, that love, that kindness, that when you see someone that's in dark, you're like, dude, I've been there, so I feel bad for you. I'm gonna pray for you because you need it.
Yeah,
you need it because I needed it.
Yeah,
and we all need it. You know, so. Dude, that was such a good. Like, I'm like, I knew there was some. When I knew your testimony was good, but I know it was like this deep and intense. And I'm just so grateful that you shared your testimony. And I'm just like in awe. And I'm excited to see what God's gonna do with you and what you're. I already, started sharing some of your plans about your outreach and the Bible study you do. Like, it's just so encouraging. And I'm really just happy we met. And I'm excited to see what God does.
Thank you. And I thank you for being on here too. Because, the Lord, he's going to do some stuff. And you know what makes me feel even more special? Because I thought I was supposed to be famous out here. God said, how much more better are you going to feel when you go to heaven and you know that your yes got them?
Yeah.
Right. Because you let me use you to get them, And
that's the real richness.
Right. Because I'd rather do that than be famous down here. I'd rather go up there and be like, yes, my yes did something. You did it through me. Like, Lord,
he's going to say, well done.
Yes.
I can't wait. That's all I want to hear. Well done.
Good and faithful servant. I'm like, that's me.
Well, is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here? And I really hope I can have you back on and kind of like see you like what God does.
Yes, of course. Actually, to be honest, I wanted to start my own podcast.
Yes, I honestly feel like you have the vibe, the charisma for it, like for real. Yeah, you have the personality.
Yeah, thank you. I want to do that, and I just want to go to the streets. I want to do all kinds of things for God,
Yeah.
Not for me, but for God, because I think I'm just so overwhelmed, like with what He did for me, and I want other people to know the love of God.
Right.
One thing, just the love of God, because that can pull you out of any and everything.
Yeah.
That's all you need, because a lot of people nowadays, they don't have love or know what love. Our world's corrupted now, you know what I mean?
It's really
a
bad.
lot of people grow up without parents and stuff like that, and you really don't know what love is, but if you know God, you know love, and that's some real love. That's a love that you can't
even describe it. You have to just experience it.
My friend told me the other day, she's all, why are you still single? Because I got a husband that is faithful. He ain't never cheated on me. He's always been there for me. He be providing for me. You want to know anything else, girl? I'll keep telling you, because God is good.
I got a list of what he does.
Yeah, and until a man can meet up to my father's standards, I ain't going nowhere. And this is the first time in my life where I'm single and I don't like be texting nobody. I don't be talking to nobody. I'm just like,
you don't feel the need to like.
No, and before I used to all the time, girl. I was just like, no, it's just me, God, and my kids, and trying to get my family right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
amen.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you again. I am looking forward to your podcast, to your outreaches, for you to come back on.
Yes.
And all the things.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.